Tell us what you think is going on in that North Carolina Senate race.
I think that North Carolina Senate race is one of the great negative races in the country in a year full of negative races. It's whether you like Raleigh or whether you hate Raleigh more or you hate Washington more. Kay Hagan, the incumbent senator, is running against Tom Tillis, the Speaker of the House. And really what I think she's done fairly effectively is to say, hey, you may not like Washington, but look what they did in Raleigh. Tillis's hope in the last couple weeks, the last couple days in particular, but the last couple weeks of the campaign, is that ISIS and Ebola, while they're not in the forefront of people's minds down there, will just make people think about how dysfunctional and incompetent Washington is. Right now, slight edge to Kay Hagan.
Hal, do you agree, though, that Tillis is the one who has the momentum now? And is that because of circumstances, or is he running a better campaign than he was before?
The Republicans say that he has the momentum. The Democrats say their private polling does not show that. It's been a rather steady 3-point advantage. I talked to some Republicans who actually say Tillis has moved not only even, maybe even a point or two ahead. I think he's gotten his act together a little bit better. He was really disadvantaged, Mark, for so long because that state assembly had to stay in office through much of the summer, and I think that was a real problem for him. He's certainly gotten better the last couple of weeks. Still, it's going to be tough. 95% of the people have made up their mind.
We talked earlier about how expensive this race is, and there's obviously been a ton of money spent across the country in these contested races. This race looks like it might be the most expensive per capita. Why did this race, among all the dozen or so big races, why did this one become the focus for so much money?
I think early on the Republicans saw a tremendous advantage here. They thought that Tillis could win the primary. He was much stronger than the right-wingers he beat in that primary. And that secondly, they had a real party infrastructure down there, and that Kay Hagan was vulnerable. She was not a particularly renowned senator, and that they could beat her. She's proven to be more resilient, tougher than they thought. And she's raised a heck of a lot of money. Money will not decide this race. They both have ample amounts of money, including from outside sources.
Al, as we've discussed, one of the distinctive things about this race is the education issue, always a big issue in North Carolina, and one that the Hagan folks have really elevated, trying to talk about Tillis and government spending on education. He was Speaker. Has that issue been diluted? Is that still what Hagan's trying to drive?
Well, she's talked more the last couple of days about women's issues and pay equity and defunding Planned Parenthood. They all of a piece in the sense that it is all against what the Republicans did in Raleigh. Tillis, of course, claims they really didn't cut education, and if you look at the figures, they didn't, except it didn't keep pace with population growth and inflation, so it really was a cut. It probably resonates more as an issue in that state than any other state this year.
You mentioned that Senator Hagan's been leaning on these women's issues recently, and it seems natural to me that she would, given what we started to see in this polling in the last few days about how President Obama, the gender gap seeming to narrow, particularly as you see President Obama's numbers with women, and particular subsets of women, starting to kind of not collapse, but certainly ebb. Is she feeling that in a direct way there, that she needs those women voters, those suburban women voters, to win this race? Is she starting to see some deterioration there?
John, I saw her in Charlotte on Friday. And she didn't at that point. There's obviously a worry about Obama. She doesn't talk about the president a great deal, no great surprise. But what they calculate is that they know they're going to turn out the African-American vote they need. They feel very confident of that, in large part because of negativity towards Republicans. They are worried about getting that percentage of the white votes in the high 30s that they need, and that goes to the issue you just raised. But as of Friday, at least, they were rather confident they could achieve that.
So, Al,
the other thing to point out is she doesn't need 50. She probably needs 47 or 48. There's a Libertarian candidate who is a pizza delivery guy, and he's polling as high as 6-7% in the polls.
We need more pizza delivery people in the Congress. The president, in the last few weeks, it looks they're still saying we still don't know his full schedule. But today, Josh Earnest was saying, well, look, there's a lot going on in the world, so it's not so surprising the president's off the trail. As we get down to the last week, will it be a problem, more of a problem for Democrats to have to deal with him not on the trail and the symbolism of that, or more of a problem if he is on the trail in some of these contested and less contested races and becoming more of a part of the news cycle?
I don't think in Georgia or North Carolina or some other hotly contested places they're going to lament the fact that Barack Obama can't find time in his schedule to be there, Mark. He'll be making calls, robocalls, to particularly African-American voters, but I don't think the president is a welcome sight on most campaign trails. He went to Maryland, go to Illinois, but not very many places.
But you think they're looking for opportunities to say, hey, there's a crisis, he's got to stay home at the White House?
Sure. Sure, I think that's a good reason to do that because I don't think he's welcome in a lot of places. Look, he is in North Carolina, which he only lost by a little bit last time, carried in 08. His popularity, his favorability is about 35%. If you're Kay Hagan, you don't want someone in there who had 35%, particularly when your opponent links everything to you and Obama.
Al, we only got a few seconds left. Just really, really quick. I don't want to rub salt in your wounds anymore, but who you got in this World Series?
I think your Giants are probably going to win it, John.
Okay.
Short series, long series?
I think it'll go 6 games.
Right. All right. Okay, you're on record.